Have you ever wanted to take a solo trip to Scotland? Well, I just came back from my first ever solo trip spanning over 8 days. And in my travels, I was able to accumulate 14 massively helpful tips that saved my bacon more times than I could personally count. So stay tuned to the end to hear my travel secrets that you won't find anywhere else. Here's everything you need to know on your first solo trip to Scotland. Travel tip number 1, UK SIM card. I simply went into the local mall, got a basic phone plan with a SIM card there for around £10, which translates to about $18 Canadian, and I was given 10 gigabytes of data that I used throughout the duration of my trip, which helped any time that I got lost or I needed to figure out where I needed to go next. The UK is said to have some of the cheapest phone plans anywhere, so take advantage of this where you can. It's especially helpful if you have an iPhone, and really because you can communicate across the country simply using that same 10 gigabytes of data. 3 is their main service provider, and I would say that's the best place to go. Comparatively, the cost to use data from Canada per day would have cost me $16. Bunch of con artists, just save your money or buy the SIM card in Scotland. Travel tip number 2, splitting the money. Before that, one simple click can change my life forever, so please consider subscribing to the channel. It would make me really happy, and I would love to turn YouTube into a full-time career. Having your money split into 3 places is a great way to assure yourself, notably if you lose your backpack for any reason or airport security loses it for you. Having at least 80 pounds on you at all times can pretty much buy you anything that you'll need, and I split mine into 3 places, carrying the most on me while I was traveling. Travel tip number 3, budget travelers. Some of the best things in life are free, and just because you're in a foreign country right now doesn't mean you gotta go forgetting the value of money, okay? So, in a pinch, if you haven't figured out what to do yet on your trip, might I suggest taking a look at all the museums and art galleries, as they are all free in Scotland. Aside from the select few monument buildings and universities requiring a student card. I went to the National Gallery of Scotland more notably, and for the price of free, these are exceptional day excursions. Travel tip number 4, water bottle. Scotland is in fact known to have some of the purest filtered water in the world, and I noticed that right away while I was there. So bringing a small flask of water during your day tripping is essential, as opposed to instead carrying along a large bottle. You can just simply stop about at any cafe or pub and ask them to top you up. Travel tip number 5, buy it later. Take pictures of all the things that you want to buy and then just let it simmer. And you're here to visit a new country, first and foremost after all, especially traveling to and from locations with a large sack on your back. Also, avoid the shops on the Royal Mile. The gift shops are all overpriced, and you can always walk around and find the same item for cheaper elsewhere.
Travel tip number 6, do not miss the bus.
In one day, you can see a ton of the city by bus. And then you can just simply hop on and hop off and come and go as you please, all using the day pass. And for £5 in one day, you can see a ton of the city. And in the meantime, you get to sightsee the city as a local and see what it's like for people who are currently living in Edinburgh. And not only that, but every bus is equipped with a USB port along every seat. Massively helpful. So charge your devices as long as you like and sightsee while you're at it. Travel tip number 7, got the time? Bring and wear 2 watches. Why, you might ask? So you don't have to think about what time it is back home, and you can simply glance at your watch at just a moment's glance. Travel tip number 8, trip length. If you're visiting Scotland for the first time, I would suggest the perfect amount of time is between 6 and 9 days. I spent 1 day in Glasgow, but 2 days would have been perfect, and then I spent all of my time in Edinburgh. Noticing everyone else I met in Scotland was staying there for that exact same amount of time. This way, you can see most of what you want at your leisure, and in doing so, you will see enough of Scotland to leave you wanting more, ending your trip on an absolute peak of enjoyment.
Hocus pocus! You should be a cat immediately.
Travel tip number 9, hostels. If you're afraid of being alone or trying to make friends as a young adult, the number one way to do that is by staying in hostels the first few nights that you arrive in Edinburgh. Because what I was personally imagining before I arrived was meeting friends at the hostels and then spending the rest of my time with those people through the duration of the trip. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what happened. Solo travelers find other solo travelers, and I was fortunate enough to meet 8 exceptional individuals this way, who I can say with confidence have become lifelong friends, so long as we keep in touch. You know who you are. What it really comes down to is the people are the heart of Edinburgh. Travel tip number 10, to the women. I can admit being very privileged as a man, being able to walk late at night without fear or blending into a room when the need calls for it. And one thing that I discovered walking the streets late at night is crime rates are next to non-existent. And the alleyways of the city are all really safe to traverse, even in the wee hours of 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4. So you can rest easy walking home from the bar or the pub. Travel tip 11, take the chance. If you've been called to Scotland and you want to enjoy yourself while you're here, but all family members are putting the fear of God into you about all the things that can go wrong, you do not have to take what they say to heart. Go with your gut and follow your instincts. If you feel that something is intrinsically wrong or off about a place, then follow that gut instinct. Go into it positive and open to new experiences. And that's exactly what you'll find, and some. Travel tip number 12, helpful apps. To make things as seamless as possible, we'll just rapid fire a few of the apps that really helped me on my journey. I'm not sponsored by any of these apps, though reach out if you are interested because I am taking inquiries currently. For starters, Get Your Guide showcases secret tours and attractions that can't be found anywhere else. Next up, Maps.me. If you don't have Wi-Fi, install this and you can download any map you want in the world and use it without a Wi-Fi connection. Next up, Uber. Buses only run till 12 a.m., so this saves a lot of stress getting to where you need to go, especially on the night I did a pub crawl and got home at 4 a.m. for £8, a pretty reasonable price. Next up, Booking.com. Need a cheap place to lay your head for the night? This is your best bet. I booked most of my accommodations using it and it was incredibly seamless. Also, highly recommend Kick-Ass Hostels. Fantastic.
Bye, Alex.
Travel tip number 13, enjoy yourself! And be ready to throw plans out the window. I found that the lack of plan was a good thing, as I went into this trip with no planned itinerary, and in doing so, it minimized any of the stress that I would have had being scheduled to be at a certain place at a certain time, so really just feel it out because the mileage is going to vary for your own personal trip. And it's going to look completely different from my own. And truly, just remember to be open to opportunities as they present themselves. If you're invited to spend time with people, don't keep them waiting. And now, saving the best for last, please subscribe if you haven't already. My most secretive tip of all. Travel tip number 14, cheap food on the fly. Really, this would serve useful in any country you're traveling to as a world traveler. Even if you're living on a budget, this would be the perfect app to use.
Getting hangry, let's go.
It's called Too Good To Go, and you might have heard of it before. The way that it works is all the food that would originally be thrown out at the end of the day is listed on this app for a fraction of its original cost, which can save you hundreds of pounds over a long period of time. And I got a leftover breakfast from a buffet at a hotel one morning, costing me 1/4 the original cost. And not only that, but you can find groceries discounted for a fraction of the price, all made up into mystery bags, and most hostels have kitchens available, and you can cook your own meals instead of eating out every night. I hope you found at least one of these tips helpful for you on your first solo trip to Scotland. And may you have a life-changing experience, as did I. If you would like to support me directly, consider buying me a coffee in the description below. It not only supports my creative endeavors, but it also goes right back into the channel. Any of the money that is made on Buy Me a Coffee goes back into supporting this channel. So I'd appreciate it. I'll have a link in my description. I also just turned 25, so drop a happy birthday comment at the bottom. I'd really appreciate that. It's just the little things. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. Stay tuned for more videos coming up, and I hope you have a very happy, thankful, and incredible rest of your day. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.
Did they subscribe?
Did you subscribe?
At some point, it will get 1 million subscribers. At some point, knocking on fake wood.
Only with the mustache.
And only with the mustache. Exactly. Okay.